Every great nation faces moments of transformation, times when the rules of the global game shift, and choices must be made. Today, Italy stands at such a moment. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Georgia Meloni, Italy, a founding member of the European Union and a loyal pillar of the West, is redefining its place in the world. But this isn't a story of severed ties or sudden pivots, it's the story of a bold balancing act, strengthening traditional Western alliances while extending a hand to the rising powers of the BRICS nations. Why does this matter? Because the choices Italy makes now could echo across continents, reshaping Europe's role in a multipolar world. Imagine Italy not just as a player in the game but as the bridge between two competing power blocks, the long-established West and the fast-growing economies of the global South. At its heart, this is about survival, strategy, and seizing opportunities in a world that refuses to stay the same. From energy hubs to trade routes, from cultural diplomacy to geopolitical leverage, Italy is building a blueprint for nations caught in the tug-of-war of shifting global powers. Georgia Meloni is betting that Italy can have it all, secure its future without abandoning its past. The stakes? Nothing less than Italy's influence in the 21st century. At the 2024 G7 summit, Prime Minister Georgia Meloni turned heads with a bold diplomatic move. Traditionally, the summit is a closed circle for the world's wealthiest democracies, focused on Western priorities. But Meloni changed the game. Instead of sticking to the usual script, she extended invitations to leaders from Brazil, India, and the UAE, key players in the rising BRICS coalition. And it didn't stop there. Nations from across the global South, including Algeria, Kenya, and Tunisia, were brought to the table. Why did this matter? Because Meloni was making a statement. The world has changed, and so must the G7. By including these voices, she positioned Italy as the bridge between the Western world and the rising powers of the global South. It was a move designed not just to adapt to shifting dynamics, but to lead in shaping them. Reactions from her Western allies were sharp. French President Emmanuel Macron criticized the approach, fearing it would weaken the unity of the G7. But for Meloni, it wasn't about abandoning the West. It was about ensuring Italy stayed ahead in a world where emerging economies are rewriting the rules. This strategy wasn't without risk. Would Italy's traditional partners see it as a betrayal? Could BRICS nations view it as superficial? These questions linger, but one thing is clear. Meloni has placed Italy at the crossroads of global power where risks and rewards go hand in hand. By forging these connections, she is betting on Italy's ability to thrive as a mediator in this rapidly changing world. Prime Minister Georgia Meloni has never been one to mince words when it comes to the European Union. In her eyes, the EU isn't just a collaborative body, it's a bureaucratic juggernaut that often prioritizes its centralized agenda over the unique needs of its member states. To Meloni, this isn't just an annoyance, it's a challenge to Italy's sovereignty. Her critique focuses on the EU's decision-making processes, which she views as opaque and overly complex. High-level appointments within the bloc, for instance, are often made behind closed doors, leaving member states like Italy feeling sidelined. Meloni has been vocal in calling for greater transparency and democracy within the EU, arguing that such reforms are essential for restoring trust between Brussels and its member nations. But her dissatisfaction with the EU doesn't end at governance. Meloni has frequently clashed with the bloc over budget rules. With Italy grappling with one of Europe's highest debt-to-GDP ratios exceeding 140%, the EU's strict fiscal policies often leave little room for flexibility. For Meloni, these constraints don't just hinder Italy's economic recovery, they symbolize a lack of empathy for the challenges faced by individual nations. Her stance isn't without its supporters. Many Italians resonate with her frustration, seeing the EU as distant and disconnected from the struggles of ordinary citizens. Yet her outspoken approach has also drawn criticism from pro-EU factions who worry that such rhetoric could isolate Italy within the bloc. Meloni isn't advocating for a complete break from the EU. Instead, she envisions a reformed union, one that respects national sovereignty while fostering genuine collaboration. It's a high-stakes balancing act, but for Meloni, the message is clear. Italy deserves a seat at the table where decisions are made, not just a role as a passive participant. While Europe scrambled to replace Russian gas in the wake of the Ukraine conflict, Italy took a different approach, one led by strategy rather than panic. Under Meloni's leadership, Italy has committed a staggering $5.95 billion to position itself as Europe's energy hub, with a sharp focus on North Africa. This vision isn't just about energy, it's about redefining Italy's geopolitical role. Meloni's plan centers on turning Italy into a gateway for African energy exports to Europe. By investing heavily in partnerships with countries like Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, Italy aims to secure a reliable energy supply while strengthening its influence in a region often overlooked by its European neighbors. These efforts go beyond mere resource acquisition. They are about building long-term relationships that intertwine economic benefits with diplomatic leverage. One standout move has been Meloni's decision to channel 70% of Italy's climate fund to Africa. This bold allocation underscores her commitment to sustainable development in the region, aligning Italy's energy goals with broader environmental priorities. By funding renewable energy projects and infrastructure development, Italy positions itself as a champion of green technology while fostering goodwill across the continent. This strategy also speaks to a broader reality. Italy's energy partnerships are a direct challenge to Europe's reliance on traditional suppliers. By focusing on diversification, Italy isn't just solving its energy problems, it's setting an example for the rest of the EU. And for Meloni, that example comes with the added bonus of strengthening Italy's bargaining power within the bloc. Yet, challenges remain. Energy markets are notoriously volatile, and building infrastructure across borders is no small feat. Additionally, some critics argue that Italy's focus on Africa could draw resources away from other pressing domestic needs. But for Meloni, the payoff is worth the risk. By turning Italy into a bridge between Africa and Europe, she's crafting a role that not only secures Italy's energy future but cements its place as a key player in global geopolitics. To understand Italy's bold moves on the global stage, you first need to understand the woman leading them. Georgia Meloni isn't just a politician, she's a force of nature. Born in 1977 in a working-class neighborhood in Rome, her journey to becoming Italy's first female prime minister is nothing short of remarkable. Meloni's political career began at just 15 years old when she joined the Italian social movement, a party with roots in post-fascist politics. Over the years, she navigated the evolving landscape of Italian conservatism, co-founding the Brothers of Italy Party in 2012. Her rise to power culminated in 2022 when she became prime minister, a milestone that shattered long-standing gender barriers in Italian politics. Her leadership style is defined by a blend of fierce nationalism and pragmatic diplomacy. Domestically, she champions conservative values, emphasizing the importance of family and national identity. Internationally, she's a strategist, seeking to position Italy as a pivotal player in a world increasingly shaped by competing power blocs. But Meloni's journey hasn't been without controversy. Critics point to her party's roots and her staunch stances on issues like immigration as divisive. Supporters, however, see her as a trailblazer who isn't afraid to challenge the status quo. For Meloni, leadership isn't about playing it safe, it's about making bold decisions that secure Italy's place in the future. Meloni's relationship with the European Commission has been anything but smooth. At the center of these tensions is her sharp criticism of EU leadership, particularly President Ursula von der Leyen. Meloni has accused the Commission of favoring centralized power over national sovereignty, a stance that resonates with her Eurosceptic base in Italy. Her objections go beyond rhetoric. Meloni has clashed with the EU over issues ranging from migration policies to fiscal constraints. She views the bloc's rules as restrictive, particularly for a country like Italy, which faces unique challenges such as high public debt and significant youth unemployment. Despite these disagreements, Meloni recognizes the importance of Italy's role within the EU. Her strategy isn't about leaving the Union, but reforming it from within. By pushing for greater transparency and flexibility, she hopes to carve out a stronger position for Italy in the European decision-making process. Meloni's outreach to BRICS nations isn't just about economic partnerships, it's about rethinking Italy's role in a shifting world order. Aligning with BRICS offers opportunities for diversification, from accessing new markets to securing energy resources. Yet, this strategy comes with risks. On the one hand, BRICS provides Italy with alternatives to its traditional reliance on Western markets. Collaborations in renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and infrastructure could strengthen Italy's economy. On the other hand, deeper ties with BRICS might strain Italy's relationships with key Western allies, particularly the United States and NATO. For Meloni, the answer lies in balance. By maintaining its commitments to the EU while exploring new partnerships with BRICS, Italy can position itself as a mediator in global power dynamics. It's a delicate dance, but one that could secure Italy's influence in the years to come. Italy's journey on the global stage isn't without hurdles. Domestically, the country faces significant economic challenges that shape its foreign policy. With one of the highest debt-to-GDP ratios in the European Union, exceeding 140%, Italy's fiscal health is a constant concern. This financial burden limits its ability to navigate crises and invest in growth, making Meloni's strategy of diversification even more critical. Youth unemployment remains another pressing issue, particularly in southern Italy, where opportunities are scarce. For a nation with a rich cultural heritage and a history of innovation, the lack of jobs for younger generations is a glaring problem. By expanding trade ties and investing in emerging markets, Meloni hopes to spark economic revitalization that benefits all Italians. Immigration also looms large. Italy's location in the Mediterranean makes it a primary entry point for migrants seeking refuge in Europe. While Brussels debates long-term solutions, Italy faces immediate pressures. Meloni's controversial deal to process migrants in Albania reflects her willingness to take unconventional measures. Critics argue that such policies risk violating international norms, but for Meloni, they're a necessary response to an urgent crisis. These challenges don't exist in isolation. They interact with Italy's geopolitical positioning, where energy security, economic diversification, and diplomatic flexibility are all vital. For Italy to thrive, it must address its domestic struggles while leveraging its global relationships, a balancing act that requires both vision and adaptability. When it comes to energy and the environment, Italy under Meloni is setting an ambitious example. In the wake of the Ukraine conflict, Europe's energy landscape shifted dramatically, with nations scrambling to replace Russian gas. Italy, however, pursued a strategic approach, focusing on long-term partnerships with North Africa. Meloni's $5.95 billion investment in transforming Italy into Europe's energy hub is about more than securing supply. It's about redefining Italy's role in the continent's energy future. By channeling 70% of Italy's climate fund to Africa, Meloni has linked Italy's energy ambitions with sustainable development. From renewable energy projects in Tunisia to infrastructure upgrades in Algeria, these partnerships strengthen Italy's influence while addressing global climate goals. But there's more to the story. Italy's green strategy extends to its own borders, where investments in renewable energy and digital infrastructure aim to modernize the nation. These efforts not only position Italy as a leader in green technology, but also create opportunities for Italian companies to export expertise and innovation. For Italy, the environmental dimension isn't just a policy, it's a statement. In a world where climate change drives both cooperation and competition, Meloni is betting that Italy's Green Gambit will secure its place as a forward-thinking global player. Italy's approach under Meloni offers valuable lessons for nations navigating an increasingly unpredictable world. First, adaptability is key. By engaging both traditional allies and emerging powers, Italy demonstrates the importance of flexibility in a multipolar world. It's not about choosing sides, it's about creating options. Second, economic diversification matters. Italy's partnerships with BRICS nations, North Africa, and beyond highlight the benefits of exploring new markets and industries. This strategy not only reduces dependency on the EU but also strengthens Italy's resilience in the face of global disruptions. Finally, cultural diplomacy remains a powerful tool. From celebrating Marco Polo's legacy to forging academic exchanges, Italy uses its rich history and soft power to build lasting relationships. In a world often divided by politics, these connections create bridges that endure. For other nations watching Italy's moves, the message is clear. Thriving in the 21st century requires a blend of bold leadership, strategic partnerships, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. Italy's journey under Georgia Meloni is a masterclass in balancing tradition with transformation. As a founding member of the European Union and a nation deeply rooted in Western alliances, Italy could have chosen the path of least resistance, sticking with the familiar. But Meloni's vision is anything but conventional. By reaching out to the BRICS nations, investing in Africa, and challenging the EU's bureaucracy, she is carving a new path for Italy in an uncertain world. This isn't just about Italy, it's about what happens when a nation refuses to be boxed in by outdated frameworks. Italy's choices will ripple far beyond its borders, influencing global power dynamics and offering a blueprint for others to follow. As the world watches, one thing is certain. Italy's story under Meloni is far from over. It's a story of risks and rewards, challenges and opportunities, and a determination to stay relevant in a rapidly changing world. For Italy, the stakes are high, but the potential rewards are even higher. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Italy's evolving role on the global stage. If you've enjoyed this analysis, please consider supporting us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you insights into the forces shaping our world.